Hello and welcome to an episode of Casual Friday. I'm here with the Duck. As always, the show is brought to you by Woo. Links available in the description below. Don started off this call by saying he's got like half an hour, and by telling me how important he is and how he's doing us all a massive favor by even showing up to record this, given how busy he is. He's also running a marathon, which is I think a distinct sign of a midlife crisis. So all
It
is not
is.
okay in the pond, but otherwise, I suppose we're doing a condensed show to talk about the price. So let's talk about the price.
Yeah.
BTC monthly close to all of you who celebrate. So I think in classical fashion, it's the highest monthly close ever, right? That's good. And then it spiked the all-time high and closed below it. So what that means is nothing.
Yep.
I was gonna post a shit post like that, being like, the good news is that this is the highest monthly close ever. The bad news is it hasn't broken out. What does this mean? I don't know. Like some shit like that. But yeah, the monthly's just kind of been walking up. There hasn't even been a monthly like micro pullback to speak of. All the candles have been green since the lows. So have fun with that. In general, I think the monthly time frame hasn't been super helpful. Well, it's been helpful in that it hasn't said anything terrible's gone on, right? It's kind of just like
It's basically been
green.
saying like, hey, just stay bullish.
Yeah, it's basically saying you should have bought at 20k and held like the
Yep.
entire time. You remember we spent like 8 shows talking about, oh, it's above 58k, and then making fun of how that wasn't moving. Well, it's a pretty fucking good trade now, eh? Like your monthly
Yep.
patience gets you a 2x. That's why this time frame is goated, as the kids say, for real, no cap. What do you think of the weekly? Because obviously I am a clown. Because I was like, oh, well, look, the weekly, this isn't the fake out time frame. Like, it closed below, I'm not saying much, but hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then fuck all happened. It just went up. Like, typical, right?
Yeah.
And there were some comments completely kicking the shit out of me, which is completely fair. I mean, it's not, because whatever, but I found it quite funny. And some guy was like, oh, conveniently, Krez said he's too lazy to do anything. It's like, well, yeah, just, 9 times out of 10, my laziness costs me money. This on the rare occasion, it ends up saving me money. You're like inverse lazy as well, right? Like, you essentially got the bearish signal, acknowledged it as well, but didn't give a shit. But in terms of where that leaves the weekly time frame, do you think this is clean enough to be a pattern failure type of thing where, oh, look, it fell back within the range and then reclaimed it? Or do you think this is like headline insensitive corporate strategy buyer summer range seasonality, like basically the bullshit soup that we discussed last week, just still in force? Like, what are the drivers here?
I would say it's bullshit.
Bullshit soup.
Yeah.
Should we make that the title of this one?
We should, yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
I mean, generally, I think that's kind of where we are right now, market-wise. Just have to deal with the fact that there's a lot of headlines, a lot of bullshit, but that generally we have a bunch of people allocating, even though there was like, when was it, yesterday or earlier today, there was a guy selling like 10,000 Bitcoin. Did you see that?
Yeah, some proper OG.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been the story of this market, right? Like all these new people deciding that 110k, they're just going to start ramming it. And then the old whales who've been holding from Gox days are like, I'll take some profit,
Yeah,
like,
let me quickly take like a Billy, like a quick Billy.
Quick billion in one transaction. It's like we're dumping on Wall Street, but it's not really the sort of later crypto natives. Like, dude, even the class, like our cohort, like class of 2017, most people don't have that much BTC, like from my colloquial understanding.
No, most people don't know.
Yeah, most people don't. Class of 2021 probably doesn't even know what the fuck BTC is. And then some of the trench guys are slowly, I mean, Thread guy, whatever, was like, I full ported BTC. But I think that cohort doesn't care about like liquid majors. It's not really a thing for them, right? It's a whole different subculture. So, like, it's here. The opportunity to quote unquote dump on Wall Street, or Wall Street buying our bags, has finally arrived, except we don't have any bags to fucking dump on them because no one owns any Bitcoin. Like, it's not sexy enough.
We're holding the dog shit that no one wants anyway.
Holding random fucking VC trash from this cycle or last cycle in particular. ETH underperformance, like, yeah, there's a whole lot of that going on. So yeah, bullshit soup on the weekly technicals. Do you think there's anything here? Like, if it goes back below 104k, would you be like, the fake out of the fake out of the fake out happened, so now it's some signal? Or would you still like just not do anything?
I mean, if it meanders downwards without kind of like headline news,
right,
and it breaks 104, I'd be worried. Yeah.
Okay, so 104 is still valid.
Yeah, I generally think. I mean, it is a very dicey position, right? Because we're kind of flirting with the all-time high breakout.
Yes.
and like that makes the whole situation like very explosive, because the moment we start actually breaking out, you're gonna see a bunch of people basically jump onto that like trade, and a bunch of people getting liquidated. So you're gonna get like a little bit of a bigger move, but also we have a lot of people positioning for that, and if it rolls over, I mean, those people are going to get liquidated.
Yes.
So you're kind of in that situation where, yeah, everything looks good, but you still have to be a little bit careful, because the moment, like whenever the market looks really, really good and it doesn't break out, you're in deep shit, basically. So that's kind of how I look at it. I generally think we're more likely than not going to break out. But you never really know what's going to happen on the macro side of things. And this kind of like the biggest risk right now, I think, is just the macro turning for the worse. I mean, the S&P did make a new all-time high as far as I saw.
Yeah,
but
very nice one.
Yeah, but generally, like we have some headline risk just non-stop now. Like there's a bunch of shit going on everywhere in the world. And that has to be accounted for. It's just very, very hard to do as like a crypto native, because we're not experts in this. So you have to either zoom out a bunch, or be very lazy, or just hope that you get lucky. For me, this is not what I'm an expert in, right? Like I very much acknowledge the fact that this is not what I'm really good at. I'm good at trading crypto, and I can do a little bit of like risk from like the macro side of things, and I can kind of see when the macro goes like overextended in one way or the other, but that's as far as it goes, right?
And then you call for fucking 10 years of sideways in between.
Yeah, like my opinion on the macro situation is pretty useless.
I think most macro people's opinion on macro is useless. The way these things tend to go.
I generally think like almost everyone's like just generally.
There are probably like 5 people in the world who can do macro. Like that's it, you know.
And then it's like when macro is kind of dominant, and you know that there's not as much edge in what you usually do, it's a bit of a dangerous situation. That's why, I mean, I keep saying like, hey, the higher the market goes, the more profit I take, and in my eyes, it can roll over any moment, but also it kind of would make sense to run. So I'm just doing that strategy to kind of take some weight off my shoulders, so I don't have to make hard choices nonstop. Because honestly, right now, making hard choices is really fucking hard, and I think people underestimate how difficult it is right now to judge the market correctly, and you want to make it as easy for yourself as you can. And that's kind of where I'm at.
It's like I've traded 8 of the last 0 breakouts. You know, like that old meme. I think in terms of making the decision-making process easier. This has been true, I guess, for the entire history of crypto, but maybe more so now than before because of how the whole corporate strategy thing is unfolding. I think owning some BTC, whatever that is, as like a anti-insanity hedge or a sanity hedge, whatever you want to call it, is probably quite important, right?
Yeah, if this thing goes to 500k, are you gonna be fine not having any? Basically?
Right, and like, you know, you don't need to do it on leverage. You don't need to use fucking derivatives. It doesn't need to be like a huge part of your portfolio that you start sweating over on the 15-minute. But thus far, this has been like a BTC-led cycle, like through and through, right? Like the ETF. Did you see BlackRock's making more money from their BTC ETF than their S&P 500 one? Like, insane stuff, right?
So fucking crazy.
Fucking crazy. So, like, that part of the cycle, people felt massively and were massively underexposed to BTC on the ETF news, after the ETFs went live, on the way up, and in general, it was like this barbell meme of BTC and then, like, Solana shitcoins or whatever, or just Solana
and they're all
itself.
at 0 now.
Yeah, they're all at 0, but BTC isn't, right?
Yep.
And now the dominant narrative, once again, isn't just like purely price-based, but it's this corporate strategy stuff, which is basically the extreme version of the same theme, right? They're like, there's just like a huge institutional FOMO. Lol, that's like I got 2017 flashbacks thinking of that term, institutional FOMO. On the BTC, but it's kind of real, you know.
It is actually kind of real, yeah.
Blockchain iced tea or Long Island blockchain fucking.
Dude, that was so bearish back then, and it's just so true now.
Yeah. But like, I think that's why owning some amount of BTC, you kind of just have to do it, because if the cycle continues and it accelerates, the way it's shaping up is it's more likely to continue to be sort of BTC oriented. And even if you trade shitcoins later, or you rotate, or you chase beta, do whatever you want, I think having that baseline of like, you're not going to go mentally ill if after 4 months, however many weeks or months of ranging it breaks out, you're not like paralyzed, essentially. Because that's really the real cost of being sidelined to a move that you shouldn't be sidelined to. Like, if you're trading it like, oh, it's just an instrument, I'm going to take it from fucking A to B and open the trade, close the trade, it doesn't really matter because there is like another trade. But if it's something like this where, the whole industry is like benchmarked on this one instrument, then the rest of your trading decisions are going to be negatively influenced, I think, if you're just like kicking the shit out of yourself every single day for like missing the move and like all the headlines, etc. Now, yeah, of course, what could happen is that you buy some BTC and then it pukes through 104k and then like everything eats shit, but like that's the cost of insurance, right? That's how I'm at least framing it for myself. I think owning some BTC is important as insurance in case we get this absolute psycho cycle where these altcoins stop dumping into the corporate treasuries and then like they just start accumulating more aggressively, falling over themselves, the flywheel really accelerates, and then some crazy dumb shit happens, which obviously ends in like 80% down, but 80% down from what? That's kind of the other part of the question. So I think that's probably the clearest thing to me. You could try to be cute and trade around it, like, okay, I'll get some spot, but if it dumps below 104k, I'll nuke it. Like, I think that's fine, but in general, you need like a sanity or anti-insanity hedge, whatever you want to call it. And I think thus far, the entire history of the cycle, that's just been owning some BTC. And I think even if it goes wrong, whatever that means, I mean, if you're spot, like, how wrong can it really go? Your decision-making framework will be better as a result. Absent that, you're just getting the shit kicked out of you in this summer range. And I think it's because of what you mentioned. It's this weird correlation stuff. It's this weird headline stuff. And then there's the whole unstoppable force, immovable object dynamic where, oh my God, it's so close to all-time high. It's so bullish. And then on the other hand, it's like, why the fuck aren't we moving from all these companies buying yet? It's because spot keeps dumping on them, right? And
I mean, because some dude's selling 10,000 Bitcoin in one clip.
Some guy just finds tens of thousands of coins. That's not okay. But I think you pointed out the flow dynamics really well. Like, if it really starts to puke, then all of this positioning built up within the range that's expecting these corporate strategies to break us out, and basically the people who get premature ejaculation from like all-time high breakouts, they want to be early. They've been like fucking edging for weeks. Like, when those people get washed out, if it takes too long, or if dips significantly beforehand, that probably gets amplified on the leverage side because they puke and price goes lower and more people puke, etc., etc. But it also works the other way around, right? Like, if it finally breaks out, all the shorts within this range were like, oh, this is just like 2021. I listened to Cred and lost all my money. Whatever cohort you want to deal with. If they start forcibly closing into an empty book, and that ask side is probably going to be empty if it's like a real all-time high breakout, that also has like a leverage amplification effect. So this is kind of what's going on in the market right now, is like these two groups are kind of just like jerking off about it, being like, oh, one side is going to be super wrong and they're going to be forced to cover, but thus far the only covering has been in shit by all the traders trying to make bets on that are too early, because again, none of the breakdowns have stuck and none of the breakouts have stuck either. So especially if you've been using like high leverage instruments to express those views, it's just not been fucking fun.
No, it's fucking brutal right now. I mean, when you're zoomed out, nothing really happens. It's just
you're the Chud Jack meme. Nothing ever happens.
yeah. But if you're zooming in, and even on the weekly time frame, you got like faked out, right? The only thing that's honoring the high time frames are not faking you out as much as the monthly. Where it's like that one is kind of Chad. It's moving upwards.
But it's also just not giving you anything in the longest time, right?
Nope. And it will not. It will not. I think the next time you get a signal on the monthly, it's going to be bear market bottom.
From like 280 to 100k or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Like, you have like a nice support at 100 in the future. But I don't know. But generally, for me at least, it's probably worth it being cautiously bullish.
Cautiously bullish.
And I think that should just
That's what true conviction sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to have true conviction when, like, it's clear to me at least, and I could, like, people are hating on this. Like, I got a bunch of very angry comments recently when I was like, this is clearly like a bubble forming and the bubble is going to burst. Jesus. But like, to me, this is very clear, right? Like, this is a clear kind of Ponzi/bubble forming. And it's really hard to be bullish into that, right? Because like, hey, this is gonna implode. Like, how this is gonna end. Everyone knows how this is gonna end. That has been around for a little bit. The thing is that like the time that I have been in crypto, whenever a bubble has formed, this is when you actually start having a lot of fun, right? This is when stuff goes up infinitely in a very short amount of time. But then you also have to get out really quickly. And so I'm kind of betting that everything is going to be the same as it has been. But I think this cycle, people are more clued into the fact that it's actually like that this is just bubble behavior than ever before. So it's really hard to hold on to that belief that this is gonna bubble, because when everyone thinks it's gonna bubble because people are Ponziing, like if everyone is kind of clued in, is it actually gonna play out the same as it has in the past, or is it just gonna implode before it ever gets big? Really hard to say, right? To me, it'd just be so much more fun if it did, so I'm gonna assume it will. But there's a lot of kind of like I think about this a lot, where I'm like, hey, are you gonna, like, it's the same with the cycle, where people are always talk about the cycle. They're like, oh yeah, the 4-year cycle or whatever, and it just doesn't work when everyone talks about it, right? Like this, like when it's a fringe kind of like concept and no one knows, it's much more likely to work than when everyone's on the same page, because usually when everyone's on the same page, shit just stops working.
Well, like when it's hard to believe, right? Like it's less credible. You're like, hey, the 4-year cycle's starting, we should start going up, and it's like the bottom of the bear market, and everyone like hates crypto. That's much tougher to subscribe to. No, I think that makes a ton of sense. Sure. And I think, yeah, time frames wise, like monthly's been good, but it's hasn't given you anything. Weekly, for the first time in a while, is actually faked out, right?
Yep.
Now it could be a bullish. I mean, if you want to be max bull, you'd argue that it's so rare, but it's still signal because it's the weekly, and it's a bearish fake out, and therefore it kind of shifts the odds to the bullish side.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Not an insane argument in principle. I just think like I don't disagree with it. I just think there's some like other bullshit soup stuff going on at the moment, and I'm also quite cautious. Like once a time frame shows me that it's sort of fake out prone, the next signal that follows has at least one eyebrow raised. That doesn't fucking mean anything. I'm still gonna say like, hey, yeah, 104 closed below did fuck all. That's pretty good. But then if it closes below 104 again, dude, I'm probably gonna embarrass myself and bite the bullet and treat it technically once again, and then get faked out a second time. Like I will be that guy, you know. Like I'd be willing
like it,
to
though.
put, I think the weekly time frame, like I will not abandon it in its time of need. I think that's like, you can't be a fair weather fan of the weekly time frame. You either ride or die with a weekly time frame, or just say that you've hated it all along. You know, just because it prints one fake out doesn't mean I'm gonna just pretend we were never friends in high school or whatever. So yeah, weekly time frame, you get some more latitude from me. If you want to close below 104k, I'll be right there fucking posting the bottom with you again. And then the daily, I mean, listen, it's been okay, actually, right? Like, in some senses, it's been okay. Like, on Monday markets, when I was fudding the fucking bottom, I at least had the foresight to say, this isn't what you chase short by any means, because we've hit the midpoint of the weekly range, and we've sort of SFP'd properly this daily low, and obviously went up from that point. It's been okay, it's just been choppy, you know? There are, like, maybe 1 or 2 big rotations every couple of weeks, which is fine, but, you know, if you're used to trading other time frames, you're getting way more signals than that. I think the daily is, like, salvageable, right? It's not a disgusting time frame. It's just,
it looks good to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a range. It's choppy. It's summer. There's headline stuff, but it hasn't been completely unusable. You know. What do you think of like intraday time frames, or is that just like a shit version of the daily for BTC?
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't even looked at the 4-hour in fucking
we need an ETH
now.
update, like immediately. Emergency ETH update.
Yeah, I mean, it's fucking my fucking entry is just adamantium resistance. It's just how it is.
What is the not average, but like what is it, like 26?
2.7, 2.6 high, something like that. Okay. Around there, basically exactly where we get rejected from.
Okay. The epicenter of all the wicks.
Yep. This is how it goes.
Jesus.
Like when you're wondering, and then people could be like, "Hey, it's just because Don keeps like T-wopping out of his position." It's like, no, dude. No. I wish that was because That'd be more bullish if it was just like some dude sitting there getting out of his underwater
Yeah,
position.
that'd be pretty good.
That'd be nice.
It's like he's gone, you know.
Yeah, he's
did
finally
you think
gone.
of anything of the monthly, by the way?
I like the monthly on ETH.
What did you have? 2275 ish, that all the way back to 2021.
Yeah, 225 basically. Like
yeah, okay.
Yeah, pretty much exactly that level. I have that, and we reclaimed it. For me, that's the range, you know.
Okay.
And we reclaimed the range low, which is that 2.25 ish. And as long as we're trading above there, I'm gonna be bullish ETH. If we lose it again, maybe I'll actually just like stop my ETH support.
So you hold through a 50% drawdown, but God forbid it loses a level like 4% away, then you have to get out.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much I can take.
That's true. That's true. Time-based capitulation. You got to study that.
Yeah, but generally, I like it. Yeah. I don't see a good reason why I would be buried. Like even if completely, like even if I had no position, if I had no I didn't care about ETH at all, like that's a good chart to me generally.
The monthly.
The monthly.
What
like
do you
the
think
reclaim
of the
I mean, that gets more depressing.
Okay. But the monthly I get, like the 2250, 2270, depending on the pair, whatever.
Yeah.
Other side of the range. You have to, I guess, ignore 2500 as
you can
the resistance because that makes
but
I mean that makes the chart look worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But then it's kind of like it's a resistance really close to the major. Like whenever I have like two resistances this close by, I usually choose one of them. And I think like 250 is better than 25. But I see the point. But also like the way it's been pushing against 2.5 would have me nervous. If I had an average of 2.5, because we're closing at resistance, and if we keep on closing at resistance like this, I'd start freaking out. So like I don't like it on the short side of things, even if I just redraw my chart to make the bias fit, basically, like the short bias. I don't like it. Therefore, I'll just ignore it on the long side.
Fine, I think that's consistent.
But it is resistance, right? And there's a chance we reject from here, and I look like a major idiot. It's just that's just. I mean, in hindsight, it's always going to be easy to say. And you do have to make those choices sometimes, where you're like, hey, I know that we're at resistance, but also we are just broke. Like we broke the much more significant resistance along the way. So I'm just going to ignore this resistance at the risk of looking like an idiot and feeling like an idiot too. Because like if it gets rejected here, I'm going to be like, obviously it gets rejected at that resistance.
Why wouldn't it? It's resistance.
Yeah, it's like it's monthly resistance, dude. We close perfectly at it. Like, what are you talking about? And then if it breaks out, I'm going to be like, I mean, obviously it broke out. Like, and so therefore, like sometimes you have to make those choices. I'm making that choice that I basically just ignore it for now. And I think on the monthly, like it would make a lot of sense to go back to the range high, which would be 3.8. 3.8. And at that point, and this is if you kind of have like a flashback towards like when we're trading at Bitcoin and at 16K, at that point, if we go back to the range high, I mean, we tested that so many times, and then I would think that breaks, and then I would think we make a new all-time high. And this is exact same arguments that I used for Bitcoin at 16K, where I was like, we just need to break that one level, and then everything flips in its favor. And I kind of feel like that's the case for ETH. Like it just needs a little bit more. And you talked about the weekly, and that's kind of like the resistance that we're battling right now.
Yeah.
And if that resistance breaks, I think everything else will fall in place. But it is also the last and only major resistance to me here, where it's like the 10th of February, 17th of February,
that cluster.
That cluster. Like that needs to go. And if that goes, I don't really see a reason not to just teleport upwards.
Yeah, I mean, dude, imagine even just managing the short side of this trade. Like you lock in on the first test, best test on the fucking 12th of May. You know, you hold through like a month of these weirdly misshaped candles, with the last week really squeezing you up and closing below. Then you finally get the impulse down, and you're like, oh, thank God, someone let me out of this thing at like 1800. You know, like I'll take the weekly cluster. And instead, it just like walks back up. It's really painful.
Yep.
But yeah, that's essentially.
It's also painful for the bulls. Like that's the thing. Both sides are suffering. But I like the bull side better.
Yeah. I think the only meaningful development on the daily is that it actually ended up doing one of the things we discussed on, we discussed 15 scenarios on Casual Friday. One of them happened, which is clearly an accolade for us. But it was, do you remember on the daily time frame for ETH, it was this idea that it faked out one side of the range and it can go and set up a mirror thing on the other side, right?
Yep.
Like overextend through the high, and at the time we were like, what you'd want to happen is that it overextends through the low, and then you're back in range mode essentially, and that's pretty much what happened. Obviously, because it's ETH, the downside push was like worse. But it's back, and I think the daily basically tells the story of the weekly in compressed form, as it often does, which is that the weekly is at like a big resistance and no moves are sticking, right? Like you look at this weekly with the wicks and the wick to body ratio, which is super technical and really useful as an indicator. That's sarcasm. Like it's dog shit, right? None of these moves are leading to anything. The same on the daily. If you try to break out this thing, you've had an absolutely miserable time. Same for BTC. If you're trying to breakout trade this thing, you've had an absolutely miserable time. And the tough part is, you'd be forgiven for wanting to breakout trade them because they're at massive fucking inflection points, right?
Yep.
Like you want to be early to that trade because the move is so massive. But as counterintuitive as it seems, I think because if you're the bigger your expected move, the less you should be worried about catching like every single cent of it, right? Like if you really think the market's going to move an enormous amount, then the exact entry down to the very like 0.5% isn't super important. Like you can miss some of it as long as you get some exposure at some point. I mean, it just reminds me of this is a really bad comparison, but like, BTC when it broke from 6k, it's like, yeah, you could go trade it at like 3-4, the grind up and like weeks of going sideways, but then the guys who just bought the 6k reclaim, they paid like double the price of the bear market bottom. But I mean, anecdotally, even just from my trading at the time and speaking to people, they had a way easier time like holding that compared to the guys who did buy 3 and then held it for like 3 months. And there were many cases of those dudes like selling into the 6k resistance and then just staying sidelined,
Yep.
So yeah, pretty much eternal range. Pick your fighter bullshit, right? Like, weekly resistance versus monthly close, teleportation, like all the usual bullshit. I don't think the closes are by any means kind of one-sided, like if you want to be a bear tard on the monthly, you can do it. You want to be a bear tard on the bull tard on the monthly, you can do it. The weekly, you could argue that, look, it's just completely distributing at resistance, completely failing, or you could argue that resistance has failed to make this thing go down and the one impulse move got brought back up completely while front running support. Like you could do these exercises all day. Daily range, like pick your poison. It failed to break out, that's bad. It failed to break down, that's good. But it's still the same summer sideways moving piece of shit for the time being.
One thing I do want to say is, like, if you zoom out enough and turn off all the lines, even on the weekly time frame, it's kind of funny being bearish.
On which instrument?
On BTC USD on the weekly time frame.
I mean, yeah, nothing. Yeah, it's just
like it's relentless upwards, and any dip is getting bought. Yeah. That's kind of how it looks like.
Yeah, of course.
And so like
you can line chart it. That'll make you feel better. I think candles give people a bit of a bias to start fucking drawing shit. Like you look at a line chart, it's like this doesn't look like the end of the world. But hey, as you know, the wisdom, Don, things, tops happen on good news and bottoms happen on bad news or whatever. When the chart looks the best, that's the moment of the highest risk and other trading.
I mean, but it's actually like when the chart looks really, really, really good. I mean, that can easily, like, and you can play this game. This can easily be the top, right? When you play, like, press on replay and you just you go towards the closest top. Like, let's say you go to 2021 and you put it to 60k, right? You're like, I mean, that chart looks really fucking good.
Yeah, look at that recovery, and now we've broken out. Let's go.
Yeah, and then you start playing it, and you're like, shit, like the fuck. So, like, you gotta always be careful with that kind of line of thinking, but it is still true, right? Like right now the chart is just showing strength, and there's no real reason to doubt it. Yes. You just have to be quick on your feet when there's actual reason to doubt it. And people always doubt it too much, and then it goes down, and then they don't doubt it enough, and that's just kind of how it goes.
That's well said, yeah.
Like you have to, like, while it's going up, just let the thing go up, and then the moment it starts going down and actually starts breaking stuff that it shouldn't break, you have to switch gears.
You got to panic early.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then if you panic early enough, even if it's false breakdown or whatever, you can just rebuy on the other side of it,
Yes.
and be fine. You don't lose any money. If you
The ego,
panic
though,
late,
Don,
yeah,
that part is tough.
yeah. But that's, I mean, if you have too much ego as a trader,
Yeah.
you're gonna wound up dead eventually. So
Or
gotta be
very
careful.
famous on crypto Twitter.
Oh, I mean, generally, yeah, and then make money with deals.
Right.
It's pretty good too.
You can't lose.
They can't lose with that. Other than, I mean, you lose a lot. You just, it's just not obvious.
No.
But I think those kind of people, I think they lose a lot, just like mentally. Like I've seen a lot of people just kind of lose it completely on the mental side of
Yeah,
things,
our
and then
class is
they,
not doing very well.
no, and they kind of lead very unhealthy and unhappy lives. And I think a lot of that is like when you just continuously scam people. I mean, your life's just not gonna, like, people think like, oh, they're rich, whatever. But I don't think you're gonna have a good life. And even if you do, as kind of like that kind of person, like, imagine just the relationships they have in real life. You know, like, if that is kind of the person you are, that's what you attract around yourself. Cannot be a good life. Not worth it.
It
This is what
wouldn't
I
be
always
Casual
say.
Friday if there's no moralizing section.
I mean, it's true though. Like,
I think
live
it's
your
true.
life, in a way where you can be proud of it. Otherwise, you're gonna just have like misery all around you, and
Yeah.
then it's not
But if
really
money
worth
is
it.
the idol, then I think that's the trap in many
Yeah,
cases.
but then you're fucked anyway. Like, I think if it's all about money for someone, like, obviously, like, if you don't have any money, you want to have money to be able to do things, and I totally get that. But if you're already at the point where it's more like a game to you, like a high score or whatever, um, at some point you have to shift your um, priorities.
Listen,
Otherwise, it's
I'm
just
not
not
going
gonna
to
go
let
well.
a German tell me how to feel about money on the 4th of July, Independence Day, okay?
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
heard anything less appropriate on a less appropriate date. I worship the god of capitalism and
Yes, please,
and
please.
just the sheer amount of money that the Trump family has made from crypto. Yeah, no, I think all of that is very sensible. I think there's a really good point there that even when people realize that things are kind of fucked from a high time frame point of view, they tend to underestimate just how fucked it is. So,
Yeah.
there's this classic trope of it'll go up more than you think, go down more than you think, and go sideways for longer than you think, right? And I think that totally applies to BTC as well. I think in most cases, given how much or how little BTC people own, the up more than you think is like played out times a trillion. And then whenever it, takes a shit, you should probably assume that there's going to be a correspondingly large downside move, especially if it's going to be driven by this like corporate treasury all-time high FOMO, raise as much debt equity as possible to buy it type of thing. Yeah, that's up. If you get up only, you get down only eventually. That's just
Yep.
that's
Like,
just
straight
crypto.
up, just how it's
That's
gonna go.
literally just crypto. Like, there are almost zero exceptions to this. Yeah, the S&P is an exception, but like that's not crypto. I'm talking about
Dude,
like this market in particular. If you get up only, you'll get down only eventually.
the crazy part is, like, if we get that, like, if Bitcoin runs, we're gonna get a mini crash at some point that is gonna get engulfed, right? Like, this is how it
Yes.
always goes. And then people, like, for that first crash, they're gonna be very cautious, and then afterwards they're gonna be like, it's just
Yeah, this
mathematically
thing's
impossible.
untouchable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's gonna get wild. Like, the way it's gonna trade, if we get that whole Ponzi actually
Oof.
moving, is gonna be fucking nasty. We've seen it before, but I think that's gonna be
Yeah.
the ultimate version of it.
There's going to be that hideous pullback, the one where you're like, oh my god, the nearest support is like 60% away, Do you
Yeah,
know that
and then
one?
it pulls back 40% in
Yeah.
like two candles, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's back up in like 2 weeks or one
Exactly.
week again.
Oh man. I've
Ah,
got
yeah,
that
yeah,
burned into my mind.
yeah.
But also, realistically, dude, we have like 3.5 years max left of this, of anything good, because then we get, what, President AOC, Gensler comes back to the SEC, Elizabeth Warren is like Treasury Secretary or whatever, and like crypto is illegal because it was the tool used, A, to kind of win Republicans and Trump the election, and B, like the Democrats are going to hate Trump and we'll see that he's just used this thing to enrich himself over and over again. And yeah, it'll
Which
just
is
be
true,
illegal.
to be fair.
There will be door-to-door ICE raids, except the C stands for cryptocurrency. You know, like just fucking dragging these pajama traders out of their beds and sending them to whatever the Democrat equivalent of El Salvador is.
Yeah, actually true though.
Oh Jesus, that's so
Like
funny.
straight up, what is probably gonna happen?
Like the pendulum's going to swing the other way, you know. Like
I
at
mean,
the
it's
moment,
just how it goes,
the
yeah.
pendulum is like not only is crypto good, but like the president will use crypto to make himself richer. You know, like what's the other end of that pendulum? It must be like crypto's like super illegal and extremely highly regulated or something.
I mean, I just hope they don't like push it too far, because there's a bunch of cool things in crypto.
Trump, Melania.
Exactly,
Yes.
like all of those.
My only hope is that like capitalism is sufficiently corrupt, like this form of capitalism is sufficiently corrupt in the US that BlackRock has made so much money from its Bitcoin ETF that because it is the shadow government, it can just give, you know, whichever legislator a tap on the shoulder, being like, hey, you know, like Bitcoin's okay, and maybe just let us have a few altcoin ETFs, and the rest of it, yeah, just do some performative enforcement. But we're making too much money from from the ETFs to really regulate this industry out of existence.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, I'll just put a bunch of the Trump family in jail and then leave the rest alone.
Anyway,
dude, it's gonna be so fucking
it'll be amazing. Yeah, I'll still be here shit posting. I'm never leaving. I fucking grew up in this place. You know, it's like 8 years on crypto Twitter now, whatever, 2017.
Jesus Christ, don't talk about it.
Yeah, I know, man. It's something else.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much sums all of it up.
That's the show. We're all going to jail.
Everyone that's ever touched crypto is gonna have to stay away from the US forever after this. But I mean, you have 3 years to hyper gamble, so
yes, and move to Dubai with other scammers. You know, the dream life. Just move to the desert with the worst people from every single industry. You know,
I mean,
who could say no to that?
That sounds like a good life, huh?
But great, it's so much safer than London. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But if that's what you focus on, then I guess, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's safety and there's safety, you know. Yeah. This is like the thing, you know. Like there's things you can say and there's things you can't say, and in some places you can say things, in some places you can't. And also free to do things, and depending on whether you're rich or not, you have a good or bad life. I think that all that kind of stuff makes a lot of difference in society. But yeah. We can actually chat about that one day.
Yeah, the Dubai episode will be great. That said, the UK is like, I'm sympathetic to counter arguments because the UK is like a bit of a failed state.
Oh, I mean, like I get where a lot of people are coming from, where they're like, hey, Europe is just fucking shit now, and I mean, they're wrong. They're wrong because I mean, like everyone that says that has never been to Europe, and they just consume like some kind of bullshit media on Telegram channels that post like straight up made up shit nonstop. But also, I mean, yeah, the entire West, you know, like America is not really like every time I was in America, I was like, I just feel unsafe in this place, like it's insane. And then you go to Europe, and I mean, it's been better. And then you go to like wherever the fuck you want to go, and like pretty much everywhere in the world has kind of like become worse in the last couple of years. And then people are always surprised, you know, like there's like a legit downswing happening all over the world, right? Like in almost every country that you look at. And everyone is like, oh, my country's shit, my politicians are shit, like this is shit, everything is shit. And it's like, yeah, it's probably also true. But I mean, look around you, dude. Yeah. Like everything is in a trap. Like
I'm gonna move to marginally less shit place.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Where are you gonna move to? You know, like what's the alternative? And then you're quickly gonna run out of like places to go to.
Yeah,
I think that's just kind of how it is now. Like people need to look at like themselves a little bit more, like in a different light. Where it's like, yeah, I mean, like you said, the UK is a failed state, but I mean, is it better than like 99% of other places?
Of course.
I would say
it's also the failed state with my family and friends, you know?
Yeah.
That is like kind of important.
Yep. So it's just, I think that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Like, it's so easy to say, like, and it's the same with America. Like, America is a better place than most places to live in.
Yeah, by far.
So it's like, it's not like, and the only reason why it gets so much criticism, I think, is because it's always been a shiny beacon of like goodness, at least for people. Like people had a really good life, and I think why so many people are frustrated now is because they can like clearly feel that their lives are getting worse, and I think that's been leading to a bunch of like the unrest that we've been
I think
seeing.
that's Biden's economy, personally.
Yeah, probably.
The tail
probably.
end. You know,
I mean,
go on.
you cannot really say Biden because he was so demented. I don't think there's
whoever was controlling Biden.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know, just as a random point, we're talking about like cyclical stuff and whatever else. I had this random draft tweet from a couple of weeks ago that I never really sent because didn't really go anywhere. I just did it while I was on the shitter. But I had like some bullet points of things that seemed like they were super hot and weren't going anywhere, and all the people getting followers were people talking about these things. And this is not exhaustive. Music NFTs. GameFi, Metaverse Land.
Oh, but that's in high demand, dude.
Rebase tokens, algo stables, celebrity coins, and then IDO/launchpads.
Yeah. Good times when everything of that goes to zero.
Celebrity coins. I will never forgive people for gaslighting me so much and gaslighting this show that like this is a good thing. This is fine. This is an onboarding mechanism. This is different. This is more egalitarian or whatever. I mean, all of them fucking disappeared. You know?
Yeah, legit.
I can never listen to a Jason Derulo song ever again.
As if you listen to a Jason Derulo.
Fuck that. Oh man. Anyway,
I gotta go. So that's gonna have to be the end of the show.
Is the end.
Whether we like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Leave us a comment. Tell us what feelings you get when you listen to this show. The vibe we're going for is two mates talking, because that's what it is. Look at our production quality. It's non-fucking existent. You know, we have AI tools now. We can edit. We can make thumbnails. No. Just two fucking morons shooting the shit.
If we do our show on a Saturday, which is like at best we cross out the Friday on the thumbnail and write in handwritten Saturday, but at worst we just pretend it's fucking Friday anyway.
I'm down. It's like I've got a feeling I know what's going to happen in the news on Friday, you know.
All
right, everyone. Well, thank you to you for supporting the show. God knows why they do it. If you're listening to this, thanks, I guess. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.